We're going to talk about teacher compensation. Teacher pay has been a hot topic and a source of contention. What is fair? How is fair pay determined? I started in North Carolina in 2008. It was the place to teach. North Carolina had a very respected teaching profession, and it paid well. So the year I started, teacher pay became frozen, and I did not get a raise for my first 7 years. The private sector is much different. Pay is determined by a number of factors, including the skill set needed from the workforce, the number of people who are qualified, the level of difficulty for the job are all factors in determining pay. From the article, Pay for Performance, What Are the Issues? It stated that the traditional U.S. teachers' pay system dates back to 1921. So teaching pay is often set on a scale with intervals for each year. Teachers may be able to increase their base salary. So for example, in North Carolina, a master's degree would give you a 10% bump. Obtaining your national board certification would give you a 12% bump. But other than that, there isn't really any opportunity. So for example, I'm AIG certified and I do not get an increase in pay. So that's been an issue at my particular school because I am the only AIG certified staff out of 54 teachers, and I do not actively teach in the classroom. So our AIG students are definitely being underserved by our staff. I believe as far as unions are concerned that they were established for a good goal. Based on the readings, elementary teachers were paid much less than high school teachers. So the goal was to equalize that pay because women and people of color often made less money than their white male counterparts. Unfortunately, though, I do feel that a lot of unions have become political interest groups. And they don't always have what's best in mind for students and even the educators. And so since unions have so much power, if you don't support them, then you're in the minority. Teacher pay has certainly not kept pace with other industries. According to Paul Peterson, in 1960, teacher salaries averaged around $35,000 a year, adjusted for 2007 inflation. And so $35,000 sounds great in 2007, but North Carolina currently offers $35,000 base salary to beginning teachers. So we are now 11 years later, and we're just now at the 2007 rate of $35,000. So North Carolina definitely has some catching up to do. So as far as teacher benefits, I can't say that we do not have good benefits. I pay $50 a month for the 80/20 plan. Most people that I know outside of education do not have premiums that low. My sister, for herself, pays about $175 a month. However, though, when I started doing a little digging and looking at what a family plan would cost for a teacher, it's $720 a month. So for a new teacher, that's about 25% of their monthly salary. So that can be a game changer in being able to feed your family, provide housing for your family, be able to afford a car to get to work. So that could be a huge game changer. So increased cost is often talked about, but never specified. And so I wanted to touch on some of those things. So the civil rights movement was a catalyst for change for many underrepresented groups, but those changes required money. And so if we look back at like EC, the Education for All Handicapped Children Act of 1975 made unprecedented changes to the services EC students receive. But that required more teachers with different specialties, and then services for those students. On the other end of the spectrum is our AIG students. So, they need teachers who have specialized education, and they deserve resources as well. Then we have immigration. The United States has long been a melting pot. All nationalities coming to America to live that American dream. But that has led to a need for transition schools, ESL teachers, and resources for those students who are just beginning to learn English. Then we have technology. Technology has changed substantially over the last 20 years, and all of that has come with a hefty price tag. The district that I am in is a one-to-one district, meaning that at the high school level, we have a Chromebook for every single student. So a Chromebook costs between $250 and $300. Then you have to think about the infrastructure for your Wi-Fi, and then every teacher has a laptop, every teacher has an active board, and then the support systems to keep those running, and then to train those staff members. All of those come with a cost. And then testing. Testing is big business. Standardized testing costs about $1.7 billion a year. So when teachers ask for a pay raise, the public at large just wants to, kind of give us backlash because they do pay a lot, of their tax money to fund education. However, they don't realize that not all that money is funneled to teachers. In fact, very small amounts of it can be funneled to teachers. So I wanted to talk a little bit about teachers working second jobs. So in the reading this week, I learned that a lot of teachers do hold second jobs, and I have been very fortunate to not have to hold a second job. So I sent out a survey to the teachers in my school and some colleagues, so I wanted to share the results with you. So the first question I asked was, how many years have you been in education? And so here are the results. And the second question I asked was, what is your gender? So about 73% were women, which correlates to the amount of women in education currently. The next question I asked was, what was their level of education? So about 50% have master's degrees and about 50% have bachelor's degrees. So the next question I asked was, do you in fact have a second job? 52% of the 67 respondents have a second job, and this was quite shocking to me. I did not realize that many of my colleagues were working beyond the school day at a second job. So then I asked how many hours a week they worked at that second job, and the most was 11 to 15, but still I was very shocked at how many people work more than 20 hours a week. So on top of a 40-hour work week, coupled with all the work you do outside of school, grading papers, writing lesson plans, so that's another 20 hours a week. Then you add in working another job. So it's no wonder my staff come in tired, and some days I wonder if they're going to make it because they're working 80 to 100 hours a week. So it was a very humbling experience for me to see those results. And the last thing I did ask was about merit pay. I don't have a lot of knowledge about merit pay other than, teachers getting paid at different pay levels for, their skill set. And, a lot of it's been tied to using EVOS data, which I have a problem with because EVOS is so confusing. It's modeled after an agricultural model. So I don't know if it's the best model to use because I have seen really great teachers have really bad EVOS data. And so then you have to look at, what the group of students they had. And, you might have 35 great kids in your classroom, and then you have that one kid who's not. And one student can totally change the dynamic of a classroom. So I was curious what my colleagues thought about merit pay. So it was right down the middle. About 50% were in favor of merit pay and 50% weren't. After the readings this week, if a true and fair way of setting up merit pay could be established, I definitely would be in favor of that. So that's my post about teacher compensation. Thanks.